Do you understand that it is not enough to be a good person? If you have a request to be happy, then a good person is not always happy. Here you are a normal, you are an ethical and moral comrade. Everything is in order with you, you want everyone to be healthy, etc. But life doesn't work out. It unfolds in a strange way, because there are programs in the subconscious, they are translated. If you want your life to change, then you need to work with the subconscious. And the best of all, as we practice, is to work with superconsciousness. From this superconsciousness, you are able to control both the conscious and subconscious levels, as well as the physical.
Master Imram, good evening. Today we have difficult questions for you that concern many people. How to work out ancestral karma? Why do children get sick and leave this life early? Can the soul of an unborn child come back for a second time? How does the transition of the soul into another dimension happen, and what awaits the soul after death? Is there such a thing as the Last Judgment? Also, we will touch upon the topic of hand mudras during meditation. What does an incurable disease mean for children from a karmic point of view?
Either a child takes on the burden of their family, parents, etc., and then he works it off and is ready for it. As a rule, this is a high soul. A high soul takes on the problems of its loved ones, those far from them and various other people. He is born with a pathology, or it starts to manifest in him as some not very pleasant thing that doctors usually cannot understand. Either this person behaved in such a way in a past life, and it can be seen from the person whether it is so or not. He may have reactions, internal aggression, some symptoms in the psyche, in psychology. I'm not talking about this particular child right now at all. It is evident from the child that he is somewhat not very well off in terms of his moral and ethical aspects. And it's clear why he is sick. It's clear that it's from his past life. And then there are pure children, like angels who come. They are very conscious, rational, but they have a pathology. Or very decent people, but they have pathology because he could take it upon himself. I have a brother, for example. He was 9 years younger than me. He left this life at 31. He was sick from the age of 2, then it went away, then it reappeared at age 16. From 16 to 31 years old, he suffered from an incurable disease, about which doctors know very little. Out of several million, only 2 to 3 people get it. It was such an autoimmune disease. But he himself was a very pure person, practically an angel. Even his numerological code was 4 sevens. That is, the soul was very high. And that's it. He took all of this upon himself and left.
I worked in medicine for many years, often taking care of newborns. Sometimes children died. How to approach this from a spiritual point of view?
From a spiritual point of view, as a doctor who took the Hippocratic Oath, you have taken on a certain obligation. And you are trained in people and have received knowledge exactly as it was possible to be perceived. You are not to blame for the fact that this knowledge does not always work, or that there is no knowledge about the subtle aspects. You sincerely do what you could do at that moment. If something didn't work out, there's no blame on you. Because you did everything that was supposed to be done in this situation, in this system. If you are troubled by heartaches, if you have feelings, then you can, turning to the Almighty, pray for these children. Since you don't know or can't do anything else. You cannot bring back the child, although it is possible in reality, but you do not possess this ability. Then you, simply turning to the Almighty, pray. If you cannot endure or do this, you need to leave such work. Just leave and find something simpler, calmer for yourself.
If a woman loses an unborn child, can the same soul come to her a second time?
I comforted a young couple several times, a couple who lost a child literally the day after birth. It happened that stillborn children were born. There were several cases, different cases, but they all ended in the death of the child. And there the doctors are not to blame. There the child simply died due to some circumstances. What can we think in this sense? And so it is right to think. Probably often as a rule, it is a high spirit that is embodied, for whom the last work remains due to karma. He needed to be born again, but not to live. And he returns to the Creator's womb realized. And parents need to be proud, although they think it is the death of the child. They feel very heavy, bad, maybe looking for some reasons, maybe blaming themselves, blaming doctors, and so on. In fact, no. There are many cases when doctors do nothing, leaving the child, yet the child survives. If a child needs to survive, heavenly forces arrange everything so that he survives. And there are moments when, on the contrary, everything was done, absolutely everything, and he still died. This speaks to the fact that this soul had to leave due to karma.
A woman lost 6 sons and then she gave birth to a daughter with a difficult fate. How can she fix this situation?
She was born into a family where there were many abortions, miscarriages, etc. This speaks to the fact that this family, this lineage, is unfavorable. They have a family curse. And it happens, a specific blockage is happening. And here it depends on her correct perception of herself in this lineage, maybe even help. Then we come back to the question of working through ancestral karma and all that. If she just wants to do family constellations or work through the lineage, that is one practice. It's widely available now. If she seriously wants to approach the question of independent existence and taking control of her life, then she needs the practice of Kriya, for example.
If a child died at 13, what happens to this soul?
This is past karma. Children who are born and die at a young age before 33 years old, approximately before 30 years old if a person dies, this indicates that they are working through past karma, especially if they are children. They have not yet accumulated new karma. From the age of 14, the new karma of this life is accumulated. Before that and in the process, the karma of the past is worked through. It means that the child lived in a past life, as a man or a woman, in such a way that in this life he had to leave due to circumstances. It's like he worked out his karma, and then the next life is already possible. Birth is quite possible. It won't necessarily be this way. This is not the rule.
How to determine if a healer can really help?
Healing is a heavy karma, I believe. Healers take on heavy karma, the karma of people. When we talk about healing, we must understand that interacting with a sick person, willingly or unwillingly, we still take on this karma ourselves. Whether it is a physical illness, a mental illness, or a spiritual illness, it doesn't matter in any case. Accordingly, a healer must be able to process this karma. Karma processing happens unambiguously. There are different directions of healing. When, for example, a person takes responsibility upon themselves and heals, that is, he works through his energy. This is the worst option. The correct option is when a healer turns to God, becomes a good conduit, and heals with the Word of God, the energy of God. But at the same time, he still partially works off the karma. This is not an easy task, especially since there are many people. At some point, he does not always control his, let's say, healing powers, and somewhere this karma mixes with people. Do you know how Abu Ali ibn Sina healed people? For example, some Shah, a Padishah, came to him. He says that an incurable disease was found in him. No one can cure it. He came to this Avicenna. Abu Ali ibn Sina is a physician, orientalist, philosopher, and Sufi. They respond, I can heal you, I can help you, but you must send your entourage back and stay here. Fine, but what is the way out? And this Shah Padishah is no one without an entourage. He says, make a choice. Either you do as I say, or you will die in some time. He agreed. They left. A 3 days journey, something like that, but they left. Early in the morning, when it was still very dark, Avicenna comes with a large baton and starts beating the sleepy king, who was used to luxury, palaces, and driving him up the mountain. Forces him to run up the hill, down the hill, up the hill. In general, occupational therapy. The Shah says, I will wipe you off the face of the earth. I will burn you. I will... He replies, fine. When your friends arrive, then we will decide, but for now, do what I say. And he chased him, and in the end, he chased the whole diseased aspect out of him. Then he treated him with water and herbs. Overall, such a therapy plus symptom relief. Plus, such an extraordinary, or from the point of view of ordinary perception, inappropriate method, but quickly solving the issue.
In which channels does the flow of energy get blocked at the time of death? Where is the program of death encoded?
Death comes from the subtle plane. On the subtle plane, prana, the life force, is being taken away. The streams of prana cease to be. This happens either suddenly, sharply, or gradually, quickly. The 5 senses turn off one by one. Only hearing remains the last. Therefore, the eyes become invisible, the ears hear, but the person can no longer do anything. Naturally, the sense of touch disappears, the sense of smell disappears, the very first. As a rule, this is due to the separation of energy. When prana is taken away, accordingly, the 5 energies that form the body also gradually dissipate. The subtle body is moving away. All these 5 energies are responsible for the 5 sense organs. Therefore, smell disappears, taste, then the body begins to stiffen and somehow feeling disappears. A person falls into blindness. In general, it is as if he is nowhere, but he still hears everything. He cannot say anything at all. Of course, for people, it is very scary. Those who regularly practice Kriya Nidra are not afraid of this. They are in this state every time.
How not to fall asleep during Kriya Nidra?
It's a matter of time. The point is that when you fall asleep, you still need awareness, and you fall asleep because the moment of the work of the Nidra comes. The first sign that the Nidra has started working is your snoring. It is so. But at some point you will realize that you have fallen asleep, but at the same time you will be aware that you are now seeing a dream. And eventually your consciousness will prevail. So your body will be sleeping while you will be awake. This is an element of meditation.
I often encounter numbers, dates of birth of myself and my husband. After his death, I see them every day. Sometimes it seems that this message is from him. What's going on?
Actually, this is not exactly a message from a husband. This is how your consciousness extracts. You seem to accidentally stumble upon it. Actually, your consciousness is extracting something that is related to your husband, because of love and attachment in a good sense. And now you are simply tuning your intellect, your consciousness, your existence, to find something again and again, to catch something connected with it. I think that at some point this will all stop for you. Our subconscious often shapes our life. As a rule, 99% of it is subconscious reactions that shape life. But for a person whose level of consciousness is high, there is conscious life practice. When he is present in this, the subconscious does not work. If he shapes his life, then in any case this person approaching this life consciously solves tasks. For ordinary people with average intelligence, life develops exactly in accordance with what is translated from the subconscious. Here you are, an okay person, you are an ethical, moral comrade. Everything is in order with you. You want everyone to be healthy, but life either does not work out or works out in a strange way, because there are programs in the subconscious and they are being translated. If you want your life to change, then you need to work with the subconscious, and even better, as we do in practice, work with the superconscious. From this superconsciousness, you are able to control both the conscious and subconscious levels, as well as the physical, because the superconsciousness solves all tasks absolutely.
My father drank. He has already left this life. How can I help him now?
When a person drinks, especially if they drink professionally and refuse help, it means that the soul program is written for self-destruction. So he made a choice. This is his decision. Because of some strangely offensive conclusions, immediately demons start working. They take him under their power and he can no longer come out of it himself. Actually, it's not him who drinks, it's through him that they drink. They drink his life forces, smoke his life forces, etc. Therefore, those who smoke know that you are committing suicide, working towards ending your life. Through your cigarette, it is not you who smokes. This is a demon smoking through you. It takes away life energy, strength, and leaves negative programs and poisons the body instead. This is suicide, in fact. The same goes for drinking with alcohol. It's exactly the same as when a person uses swear words, for example. He continues to say them, spoiling the space, spoiling his inner space. Because when a person swears, their body begins to decay, their aura begins to decay, it becomes polluted, it pollutes the space. This is also murder, suicide. Different forms of suicide exist. How to help this person? From the point of view of martial arts, one can simply give him a punch in the face, for example. Then he will look around next time before saying something to see if you are nearby, for example. I'm joking. Such people need to be healed. But if he left saying, "Leave me alone, I don't want anything," you can't do a thing. Although it could have been violent, but then he starts again, because he has certain programs. He has immersed himself very deeply, figuratively speaking. And you personally cannot help him. He needs to experience those events to which he was preparing himself. It is precisely that experience that the soul obtains there deep in the Mariana Trench. Even deeper in the underworld, figuratively speaking, it is precisely this that it needs to receive as an experience. Then, when eons pass, a certain quantity of years, they may get lucky earlier, because there are special services that descend to a certain depth and try to slightly straighten out their brain down there. There is no brain there, of course. They talk to them, communicate, give them love, and these souls slowly come to life. They start to look more and more into themselves and strive, already wanting at least something to get out of this. And those who are very deep, very low, like professional alcoholics, for them Christ himself descends. It means we must pray, turning to Christ. There is a council that helps to reach the level of Christ consciousness. There are hierarchs who can intercede for him, for this soul, for your father. There is another universal option. You, as a loving son, take this responsibility upon yourself right now. Because you are the eldest in the family now. There is no father. You are the eldest. Do you understand? In your family. You start practicing Kriya Yoga fervently for the sake of your father. And you free 7 generations of lost souls going forward and backward along the line. 7 generations ahead which still have yet to exist after you, have not yet appeared, but they will have their own problems of various kinds. They always have them. You already give them grace. Thanks to you, even the new newborns will feel good. They will have good, not bad karma. The lost sheep will be saved thanks to you. So practice.
If a person drank and smoked but quit, does it mean he worked off his karma?
If they got sober, they have the will and they manifested this will, then everything is fine. They need to move on. But this is not enough. Do you understand that it is not enough to be a good person? If you have a request to be happy, then a good person is not always happy. Always unhappy. It is not enough to be a good person to achieve high levels of consciousness to enter heavenly worlds. Serious work is required.
What awaits the soul after death? What is the karmic council, and who determines in which body the soul will be incarnated? Is there such a thing as the last judgment?
The topic is very extensive. In fact, everything listed already has an answer. The karmic council, which decides according to their level of consciousness, a person ends up on a certain plane. Where there are attachments or there are no attachments, depending on the level. He ends up on this plane according to his intention, according to the motives by which he lived, thanks to which he acted. Thanks to a lot of love, a person enters high heavenly worlds, because love covers everything. Even if a person had some actions, sins in the past, pure love, the perception of divine love, allows a person to rise to the highest level in the world of truth, regardless of what he did. This already covers everything, that is, he has reached this level. Here is a very large, extensive question, and in order to determine it for yourself now, I suggest reading spiritual literature. Yogananda again, The Second Coming of Christ, all books by Yogananda. There are many questions about this, because it takes a lot of time right now. The last judgment is the judgment of conscience. I will answer briefly. Hell and paradise do not exist as places. This is a state of consciousness. If we talk about forming our space with our consciousness, then a person can end up in a hell that he formed during his life with his way of thinking. And he falls on this level often. These frequencies are very unpleasant. Therefore, this is called hell. What they say, that they cut everyone up, fry everyone, then it's all ready. This can happen if a person thinks about it. He is the one who shapes it all. We are what we think, therefore, think about heavenly worlds.
Why do people visit dolmens? Are these portals?
Dolmens are portals and transitions to another dimension of their kind. They create certain vortexes in space. There are plenty of them in the world, exactly the same way pyramids work. Different esoterics talk about different information in general. Some say that these are transitions into other dimensions. Some say that these are information transmitters. Some say that these are tombs. By and large, neither one nor the other is the truth. Some say that through these dolmens, people went into another dimension. By and large, those who were able to transition to another dimension did not use dolmens, because they have the skills without dolmens. But in general, dolmens are something that serves as a kind of emitter, vibrating and providing information of the subtle planes. They used it differently. Therefore, there are different conclusions.
What does the position in which you are sitting in the photograph mean?
There are certain positions we sit in by which we work with this space. Closed positions, open positions, there are different ones. In the Buddhist pantheon, there are such positions for working with elements and much more. This position is closed. When you intensively raise energy in the Ajna chakra and work with the space, you need to close the lower chakras. Then the energy rising is transmitted in a pure form. This does not mean that if I sit like this, then the lower chakras also affect you. There are just points that are taken into account. Here is such a position. This is in the order of the Kriya Yogis, in the order of Giri. Giri is mountain in Sanskrit, stability. There is an understanding of how to work with this world, and these are wise people who close energy channels in a special way and create waves, vibrations. Therefore, I sometimes do like this, sometimes do like that, when in the lotus, sometimes do like this. Different indicators, different frequencies arise in space. It depends on what I want, what goals I pursue. This is work with you. There is just a regular position. There is such a position. When I tell you to hold your hands like this, they tell me, Why do you say that my hands should be held like this, but you hold them like that? I say that I can't hold on like this, I'm tired. You hold it like this because you need to accept the energy, and I need to transfer the energy. How do I explain this to a person if he comes to me with a complaint?
It seemed to me that the movements we are studying resemble the position of a cobra.
If this reminds you of something, there's nothing wrong with that. Let it be. For example, Chinese martial arts are fully expressed as dragon forms. There's nothing bad in this either. A dragon is a universal creature, for example, that can fly, crawl, swim, and all that, like the universe. There's nothing bad in this. I don't know what form you are talking about in this case, what it reminds you of. But the force or energy, the flow of energy, the spiral rotation of the channel system resembles a snake, which... Have you seen how a snake moves? In an interesting way. She does not have such linear movements that would show that she is somehow pushing along. She seems to glide, and the energy works in such a way that she glides. This is very interesting in terms of flow. Kundalini also works in us this way.
Tell us about the origin of the soul and the spirit. What is their difference, and where are they located in the body?
There is the Absolute, Sat Purush. The Absolute created 16 suns. Thanks to these 16 suns, all worlds and so on arose. Their huge number, infinite, boundless. Each of the suns works towards maintaining creation in different forms. Human existence arose due to special circumstances. Souls that later became Jivatman. Atman is like an individual soul. Atmans, which later became Jivatmas, that is human existence. That is, the soul incarnates into the body in the womb of the mother. Jiva, like bodies, arose thanks to the fact that one of the suns, having created his universe, endowed us with bodies. In this, all demigods, hierarchs, etc. participated. And of course the Creator himself. With his knowledge, this happened. So-called, now it is fashionable to say avatars, that is, jivas manifested as humans, arose thanks to the sun, one of them. Of course, everyone else participated in this. And the soul, which we are and which defines human existence, arose directly from the Absolute. We did not arise from anyone, anything, anywhere, as they try to impose on us. The product of alien origin, etc. Our DNA, bodies, possibly changed, somehow transformed quite a lot, but we are not the body. We are Atman. This Atman arose directly from the Absolute. And directly from the Absolute, he incarnates into the Jiva, that is, into manifested life. Therefore, we have God within us, which we are by nature. We are those who inherited the Creator himself. And by incarnating, we become manifested Atmans, or Atmans. This is Jivatma. Therefore, we are now in a state of Jivatma. But in our body, in the blood, there are different DNAs, which unfortunately may not be to a large extent, but still unfortunately mixed with different programs that have artificially manifested many times on Earth. A lot is said about this in the Vedas. Just study all this if you want. For me, by and large, it doesn't matter. I know that even if these programs are negative, I have the divinity within me that at least neutralizes these programs, and at most neutralizes them. Therefore, what we represent is first and foremost the embodiment of God. One must think about this. And we arose directly from the Absolute and return to the Absolute. A bubble on the surface of the ocean, when it bursts, merges with the ocean.
Is our soul the Absolute? What is the spirit?
Spirit is that which is the power of the Creator. And it is He, the Creator Himself, who created this world and space. And we arise as a shining soul, which shines 16 times brighter than the sun. We arise as individual beings and enjoy the presence in God. There is a sun around which small ones fly. A huge number of souls fly around this sun. The sun is the absolute, and the stars are souls. Spirit is the force that sustains creation. Essentially, spirit is inseparable from God, from the absolute.